CSIS 2470 is filmed before a live studio audience.
Hey everybody, welcome back to class. Today we're going to be continuing on our journey from past Jeff covering the canvas tag, and today we'll be covering arcs, fills, and other shapes. What the heck does that mean? Let me turn it over to past Jeff and you'll find out.
So we're going to do another canvas thing here, but I want to start from scratch because I think it's good practice to do that, especially with canvas, because there's a lot of little teeny details that you have to do right every time. And if you forget one, it'll mess with your head a little bit and you'll be like, why is this not working? Why is this not working? I've done this 1,000 times. You've had me do that on camera. That's happened to me before, right? So, and also it's just good to rehash it kind of in baby steps. So the first thing we're going to do here is create canvas, right? Just a blank canvas. And then we're going to style it. Background is going to be RGBA green. No red, sorry, that's no red. 255, 0, 25, because that sounds fun. I don't know, it's going to be some sort of translucent green color. All right, and then the other important thing is in our JavaScript, there's a few things we have to kind of do right away. So this is the part why I wanted to do it again, even though we did it the other day. I want to show you how I think when I set up a canvas project, right? First thing, I always have the world variable, right? Which is our canvas. And then we called it a pencil last time. We're going to go with brush this time. So I set up these two variables here, and then we assign the world, the actual width. Sorry, the world is going to equal document.query selector and the canvas. So we're assigning our world is the canvas, right? The world is our oyster, right? And then we want to, if you remember last time, we had like a setup function, and then we had the draw function that was our loop. So I'm going to call those two functions right now, even though they don't exist, because you'll forget. Do it all the time. Draw. And again, you can call those whatever you want. That's what I prefer to name them, but it's fine. And then I'm going to make them real quick. Function setup, and then function draw. Right? So this is kind of the skeleton of everything right here, right? Next up, within the setup, I'm going to go ahead and set up these few variables here. So I'm going to set up the width of the window of the canvas, right? The world.width. Remember that property? And that's equal to what? Remember? Window.width. Yeah. Now, you don't have to do that. You can make it like a 400 by 400 canvas or whatever you want to do. It's totally fine. All right. World.height. Same thing. Window.inner height. All right. So that's going to set up the size of it. Let's just see if that worked. Make sure there's nothing broken here. There we go. Look, it's nice, hideous green here. The other thing I like to do, you might recall, if I have the console open here and I refresh, what happens when I close the console? I lose my canvas, right? If you have a set size, you still want to do this because the console might overlap your set size. But I want mine to be full screen. So real quick, the way we do that is we put an event listener, which I like to put on the outside here, which is window.add event listener. And again, it's on resize is when we're going to call the event. And what event are we going to call? Joshua, what do you think? Look on the screen. It's actually, there's a hint on there. Yep, there we go. Setup function. So we're just going to reset up the canvas, right? All right, so that'll allow everything to resize properly, no problem. Okay, next up, I want to go ahead and just get my loop going, my animation loop, so I don't have to worry about that later, right? So my animation loop is, remember, it's request animation frame. Don't forget the proper case sensitivity there. And we're going to call the draw function. So that line 15, recursively calls the draw function. It's going to call it an infinite number of times until you close the page, right? There's one last thing I like to put in there. Do you guys remember what it was? We want to clear our rectangle size of the page. That way you don't get the trailing effect with your animation. I'll leave it off for now so we can see that effect again in a minute, and then I'll add it on later. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to finish building our brush, right? We've set up our world. We got our canvas going. Now the brush is, we're going to say brush equals world.getContext. And that context is 2D, as in two-dimensional. Right, we're not going to get into 3D. If you guys want to explore that, feel free to dive in yourself. Play around with that, okay? So that's everything we need to start drawing stuff, right? We've got a canvas, which we call our world, our happy little world. And we have a brush, it's our paintbrush, if you will. And remember, this get context returns an object, right? that object has all these functions and methods and everything that you can access. And it allows you to set properties, change things, draw things, and do all kinds of stuff. So last time we looked at an arc, right? Just a quick refresher. What does an arc look like? I'm going to just put it in the setup function for right now. What's an arc look like? Yeah, begin path, right? Good. So we need to brush dot begin path. We're going to talk about that a little bit more today. And then we need a brush dot close path. Okay. We need that. And then brush dot, we're going to draw an arc, right? The X, Y, we're just going to do it like at 100 and 100. The radius, we'll do 50. Remember, it's an arc that we're drawing. It's not necessarily a circle, right? So where on the circle, we're starting at 0, which is just flat on the x-axis, and then we're going to draw it from 0 all the way around to some number of radians, which in our case, pi times 2, which gives us 360 degrees, right? So it goes from 0 to math times pi. And then Shane, you mentioned the clockwise or counterclockwise. I think true is clockwise and false is counterclockwise, or vice versa. I don't know. We're just going to pick one. You don't even need it. All right. So now what I've done, I've created an arc, but have I drawn it yet? I have not drawn it yet. How do I draw it? Stroke or fill, right? Pick one or both. So you just brush dot fill, and I needed to go pi times 2 there. Sorry about that. There we go. Okay. Math pi times 2. So there we go. If I want to put a stroke on it, I could do that. I could say brush dot stroke. And the default colors are black, so you can't really see a difference here. But before I draw the arc, I can change the color, right? I can say brush dot stroke equals red, right? And brush dot line width. This is all review from the other day, so I'm going pretty quick. So I got this big fat line width equals 10. And then what do we get going here in the console? Something happened. Yeah, red is not defined because I didn't put it in quotes. There we go. All right, and now what's this other one? Brush dot stroke is not a function. Oh, right there. That's what I want. Style. There we go. My gosh. See, I told you this is why I want to do it from the beginning, because there's all these little details that you forget, right? I still don't have all those functions and properties memorized, right? So let's just look at what's going on here. Break this down into a couple lines here. So this is me setting up the style of the stroke. This is me actually doing the stroke. This is me setting up the thickness of the stroke. And again, that happens when I put that stroke right there. If I did not have that line, those two properties wouldn't matter, right? The thickness and the color, all right? The other thing, the fill, I can also choose a fill style, and we'll make it blue, all right? And now the fill will be blue, okay? All right, that was the 2-second recap of what we did the other day, or the 5-minute recap of what we did the other day. Do you have any questions about the basic big picture there? Okay. So now notice here, I didn't create a ball object like we did the other day, right? I didn't worry about creating an object there. We don't have to do that. I just made it here right in my setup, okay? If I wanted to do a ball object, that would be useful for making the ball bounce around or whatever and animate. So we will do that, but we're gonna make some different shapes first. We're gonna do a rectangle in a minute. We're also gonna look at drawing separate lines, all right? So I'm gonna clear all this stuff right here and the setup, and I'm actually going to just create a function that's called thingy. Perfect. So we're going to draw thingies. Okay. So we're going to keep continually to change what properties it can take and hold and everything. At the moment, thingy is going to be, in fact, we're not even going to pass it in properties right now. We're just going to put all the code in there. So every time we call it, it's going to draw something different. All right. So in here, we need a function to be able to do all this. So this dot whatever show, what I tend to write for this function. So we're going to eventually just create a thingy and then say thingy dot show, right? Right there. So the first thingy, let's go ahead and put that in there. And let's take a look at drawing a rectangle. Actually, let's draw a line because it's a little trickier and we might have more questions on that one. So there's a couple of functions we want to look at here. One is called brush.move to. What this is, it's the starting point of the line. Right? So what do you suppose it's going to take in its properties or X and Y coordinates, right? So it says move to 100, 100 or whatever. Okay. Then we have line to. This will draw a line to some other point, right? So let's do like, I don't know, 200 by 200. Okay. And if I don't put a stroke style or a fill or any of that stuff, defaults, everything is black, okay? So just this alone is enough to draw a line. So let's make a thingy object. And in here, we'll say thingy equals new. Oh, sorry, that should be lowercase. I'll fix that in a minute. Thingy, all right, lowercase. I'm going to get tired of typing that over again, so we're going to call it T, all right? All right, so T equals new thingy, and then I want to draw the thingy in my setup function, right? So T.show, because that's what I called my little function here in the object, right? We clear on conceptually what I just did there? You may not understand that move to line 2 yet, but the rest of the object stuff we did there. Oh, I never drew it. Yeah, brush.stroke. Always got to draw it, folks. Like we did before, we made the arc, but then we had to draw it. Same thing happens here. All I'm doing is plotting out the points and creating this sort of floating thing in memory that is these points eventually, but I never told it to draw it on the canvas. So now I'm putting the stroke in there, and now it draws it on the canvas, right? Okay. You see how it's a bunch of little teeny dots being drawn over in the line, right? So there it is. There's our line. Now let's make another line. We're going to make a triangle, like an upside down triangle or a regular triangle, whatever. Okay. So we know where our cursor's at the moment, right? It's at 200. I'm tempted. Yeah, I'm going to do a little tangent here. Okay. What I want to do is make it to where wherever my mouse is on the screen, the actual XY coordinates will follow my mouse. So right now, if I were to put my mouse right there, 100, 100 will be in parentheses attached to my mouse. If I move my mouse down here, 200, 200 will be on my mouse, right? It's going to be a tool to help us know where to draw the lines, but it's also a good thing to know how to do in Canvas, right? So here we go. So tangenting from the line for just a minute, okay? I want to create a mouse object or variable, right? So let mouse, you can call it whatever you want, but mouse seems appropriate. And I'm going to give it 2 properties. I'm going to create an object literal here. Give it X, undefined for the moment, and Y, undefined for the moment, okay? Right, follow what I'm doing there? I'm just creating an object literal with 2 properties, so mouse.x, mouse.y. I could have called that beavis.x, beavis.y, whatever I want to call it. All right, now what I want to do is I'm going to create an event listener, and there's one called mouse move, okay? Mouse move. And I want a function that I'm going to create that's going to be called get coordinates or something like that. So this on the move, the moment I move, I want to grab the coordinates of where my mouse is at that exact second. Okay, so I'll tell you how to grab it in a minute, but we're just going to call it the get coords, right? That's the name of the function. Okay. All right. So let's make this function here. Function get coord. Whenever there's an event, a mouse move, a click, a key pressed, a resizing of a window. Whenever there's an event, there's actually a parameter that just goes along for the ride. It's an object that has a whole bunch of stuff in it, right? And if we, right here, we put event right there, that is a parameter that's automatically going to be this move right here, this move right here, that creates an event and it creates an actual object and it's going to pass it to this coordinates function. And so we'll have all the stuff that's in the event right there available to us. So when we did resize, what was passed in, what was given to the setup, we didn't need it because we didn't call for it there, but what would have been passed in is also an event object, and that would allow us to get a hold of anything that's related to that event. So what are the things that are related to that event? There's 18 billion of them, right? But one that we care about in this case is the actual X and Y location of where the event occurred. And since it is a mouse move, that will exist in there. So there actually will be, whatever the event is called, an X, right? Well, what do I want to do with that X? I want to display it. I want to give it to my mouse.x variable. Because think about what happens here. If I just displayed event.x in the console or whatever, I need to display it in a specific position, right? Well, I want to assign it to my mouse.x variable. So I have it in a variable that I can display that variable all over the place. That event's constantly changing. I don't have to keep calling that object over and over again, which we still kind of do anyway, but you'll see. Okay. So what I want is mouse.x equal to event x and mouse.y equal to event y. All right. So now let's just look at this for a second. So watch this. I'm going to open the console here and refresh the screen, and I move my mouse. Now that I've moved it, that event has fired. So if I look over here and I type mouse.x, my mouse may not be at 439 at the moment, but it was the last time I stored that variable, right? I moved it again, so who knows what happened, right? But it should be right about where my mouse is at, all right? So I move it again, I hit mouse.x, it's at a new position, okay? All right, so we've got the data now, we just need to display it, right? So how do I display it? Well, we've got things where we can draw rectangles, we can draw arcs, we can draw lines, we can draw text, okay? So here's what we're gonna do. In this get coordinates event, we're gonna just draw it right in there, and we're gonna take the brush, fill text, let's just put something in there for now, like hello. And where do I put it? You actually put it at whatever coordinate on the screen you want it. Where do I want it? I want it at mouse.x and mouse.y, right? Which will be exactly wherever my mouse is. So now this should have hello following my mouse all over the page. And it is, see that? Okay, it's everywhere my mouse is, the word hello is. Now, the thing I told you about earlier, clearing a rectangle, we want to do that, right? That's kind of a cool effect though. And if you were making some sort of app where the user could draw or paint something, this might be a useful kind of thing to do, all right? All right, so we would want to do brush dot clear rect the size of our world dot width, and world, we missed a parameter, hold on, I'll get that. And that's going to be starting at 0, 0, and it's going to clear the height and width, right? So now it's just hello 27, should be a period there. Now when I refresh, oh, why is it not there? Because I'm refreshing the canvas every time. I only drew it in my coordinates event. That's not a good place to draw that. I need to draw that in my loop, right? Make sense? Okay, there's a lot of little tricky things that you have to be careful of. So now we got hello following me all around. Well, I don't want hello to follow me around. I want the X and Y coordinates to follow me around, right? Notice my rectangle went away too. Why did it go away? Because I drew it in the setup and we refreshed the screen, right? So we'll fix that in a minute. But what I want now, I want this thing here, I don't want it to say hello. I want it to say parenthesis X colon mouse X, follow me? So it's going to be a parenthesis X colon, then whatever the mouse X value is. Everybody understand that? Okay, then plus, comma, space, Y colon, space, mouse dot Y, plus, close the parentheses there. That should give me what I'm looking for, okay? So now look what's going on here. My coordinates, oh, I got an extra plus in there, right there. That should not be there. Okay, there we go. Now I can see the exact coordinate. Now I know exactly where my mouse is at, right? That's a useful little tool that we're gonna need when we draw our lines in a minute. This is just for fun, just to help us understand how to use text, number one, and number two, to see what our coordinates are, right? So we can also do, right here, we can say brush dot font is equal to, you can pick up size like 30, we're gonna do like 40 pixels, chiller, right? You just pick the font name and the font size, and that syntax will work just fine. So now we got big fat text there that we can read very easily. So we can see exactly where we're at on the canvas, right?